Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Watertown Municipal Band for the third concert of the 2025 season. You're in for a treat tonight. Not only will you be hearing from the Watertown Band, but we have guests among us that are looking forward to hearing the Lebanon Band perform later this evening as well. I now turn the stage over to the band under the direction of Mrs. Teresa Yankee A. Stryker, which she doesn't have this week on Mrs. O. Please rise as you're able and remove your hats to join in singing our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner.
Venues in the world. It was built in 1891 by steel magnate Andrew Carnegie, and the hall was home to the New York Philharmonic from 1892 to 1962. To this day, Carnegie Hall continues to play host to the finest artists from all genres from around the globe. This piece pays tribute to this venerable institution and the vibrant city that it calls home. The opening statement is a bold and brilliant fanfare characterizing the splendor of the great hall itself. The middle section is a driving home with engaging melodies and a rhythmic thrust symbolizing the nonstop activity of bustling NYC on any given day. The commissioning band was able to premiere this piece at Carnegie Hall in 2012. This is Carnegie Anthem. piece we just played is titled The St. Anthony Chorale, and this theme is very popular and it's often played at weddings or at church services. Next, we embark on a thrilling journey back to the world of Jurassic Park. Directed by Steven Spielberg, this 1993 masterpiece redefined the boundaries of cinematic storytelling, and a significant part of its magic lies in the unforgettable score by legendary John Williams. Williams' music is more than just background. It's an integral part of the film's emotional core. It captures the awe and wonder of encountering dinosaurs for the first time, the heart-pounding suspense of navigating a prehistoric world, and the sheer joy of witnessing these magnificent creatures. Emil Waldteufel composed España Waltz in 1886. It is based on a rhapsody written by Emmanuel Chabrier just 3 years earlier, reflecting his impressions of his travels through Spain. As you listen to España Waltz, you will hear parts of the original masterpiece woven into the waltz, creating a blend of French and Spanish styles. This piece captures the passion and rhythms of Spanish music. Imagine you are sitting in a Spanish square and let the music begin. Prepare for a journey into the land of Oz, but perhaps not the one you know. Forget the yellow brick road and ruby slippers, because these selections delve into the untold story of two young women whose lives and destinies intertwine in an extraordinary way. The next selections come from the musical Wicked, which also wowed film audiences this past fall. This Broadway hit explores friendship, identity, and the complexities of good versus evil, proving that the true story isn't always black and white, or green. You're about to hear some of the most iconic songs from the show, including No One Mourns the Wicked, Dancing Through Life, No Good Deed, For Good, and Defying Gravity. Please enjoy selections from Wicked. recognized as one of the 100 most popular marches in the band repertoire. Block M Concert March for Band by Jerry H. Billick continues to bring sincere delight to band members and audiences. The Block M is the symbol for the Michigan monogram and was written for the University of Michigan Band's annual Variety Night concert while the young composer was still an undergraduate student there. It became Billick's first published work in 1955 as he began an extremely prolific career that has spanned well into the 21st century. Following this piece, we will take a short break and reset our stage for our guests. Thank you again for being here tonight. Our next and final concert in the park is scheduled for Tuesday, July 29th, right here at 7 p.m.
Lebanon Band and normally play our concerts out at Lebanon Fireman's Park. We are excited to be with you tonight, sharing the stage. Thank you to both the band boards for continuing this joint venture for the third year. We are under the direction of Mr. David Bensky. I am Kathy Fortledge and will be your MC for our half of the program. We are excited to be celebrating music in Lebanon for 135 years. At our Lebanon concert in July, we recapped our 135 years, our beginning as two church bands, and some fun we've had along the way. We hope to be around for many more years. We are starting off our portion of the concert with a patriotic march composed on the night of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. America Forever March was heard on weekly national radio broadcasts throughout World War II. Written in the traditional march form, the music expresses the patriotic fervor that the composer must have felt that day, probably similar to the feeling we had around 9/11. Here is a traditional America Forever by James V. Colonna. We're going to change up the tempo and the key signature a bit with our next piece. the Slavic Woman's Farewell, also known as Farewell of Slovakia. This Russian patriotic march was written by the composer Vasily Agapkin in 1912 in honor of the Slavic women accompanying their husbands in the First Balkan War. There are several different versions of lyrics in many languages, most lyrics about Russia and its changing leadership. Farewell of Slovakia was used in movies like The Cranes Are Flying and Charlie Wilson's War, which is about the Soviet-Afghan War, and in the Russian movies 72 Meters and Prisoner of the Mountains. An instrumental version was also featured in the 1974 Soviet film At Home Among Strangers and the 1990 Ukrainian film Raspad during the Pripyat evacuation scene. Enjoy this unique piece, The Slavic Woman's Farewell by Vasily Agapkin, edited by Timothy Rio. Up next is a song which has had some controversy around it. A song you probably wouldn't think would because it's such a beautiful song. You Raise Me Up, composed by Roald Loveland with lyrics written especially for the tune by Brendan Graham. It was first recorded in 2001 by Secret Garden, an Irish-Norwegian band which specialized in new instrumental music, of which Loveland was a leader. You may have heard this song sung on this side of the pond by Josh Groban, recorded in 2003, or the Irish group Westlife in 2005. Now for the controversy. In 2018, Icelandic composer Jóhann Helgason claimed this song infringed on the copyright of his 1977 work, Sopnur. The Performing Rights Society of Iceland and later the United States District Court of the Central District of California both found similarities, but that those similarities came from the Irish tune Londonderry Air. Sorry. Since the writing of You Raise Me Up, there have been hundreds of recordings. Josh Groban has reached #1 on the adult contemporary list, and it's been sung in many different places. Enjoy the beautiful You Raise Me Up by Roald Loveland with lyrics by Brendan Graham. Wasn't that a beautiful song? We're going to change the tempo a bit with Byzantine Dances by Carol Britton Chambers. Written in the style of a Roma gypsy dance, it is designed to portray a set of Turkish dances. The opening dance is fast and energetic, written in the style of a Roma gypsy dance. The slower section in the middle is crafted in the style of a Zebek dance, sometimes performed with a solo dancer, symbolizing courage and heroism. The song ends with another fast dance. Much of the melodic material is based either on the Byzantine scale or the harmonic major scale, both of which produce a somewhat exotic sound. And please enjoy Byzantine Dances by Carol Britton Chambers. I hope you enjoyed that one. It was a fun song to play as well. We're going to change up the tempo again as we head back to the 1930s with a selection of Cole Porter classics. The songs included in this selection are Begin the Beguine, Love for Sale, and Anything Goes. Interestingly, Begin the Beguine was written by Cole Porter between Kalabaki, Indonesia, and Fiji during a 1935 Pacific cruise aboard Cunard's ocean liner Franconia. Love for Sale is from the musical New Yorkers, which opened on Broadway on December 8, 1930, and closed in May 1931 after 168 performances. Finally, Anything Goes is from the musical of the same name, from the book by Guy Bolton and P.G. Wodehouse. The story concerns madcap antics aboard an ocean liner bound from New York to London. For your listening enjoyment, Cole Porter Classics. Thank you to Teresa A. Stryker and the Watertown Municipal Band for letting us share the stage with you tonight. It was a fun night. A bit hot up here, but I hope you're cool. You can follow us on Facebook, Lebanon Band, or Friends of Lebanon page, or watch in the Daily Times for updates if they printed. Sorry. Our next concert is Sunday, July 27th at the Lebanon Firemen's Picnic with the community church service at 10 a.m. and our concert begins at 12:30 p.m. We will also be back in town to entertain the residents of Marquardt Village on Wednesday, July 30th at 6:30 p.m. Our final concert of the summer will be on August 6th at 7:30 p.m. We're going to close out the concert tonight with our traditional Lebanon Band ending, the patriotic God Bless America by Irving Berlin. Please join us in singing on the second verse. We will then conclude with our final number, our traditional March Jubiloso. Thank you for coming, and thank you again to the Watertown Municipal Band and Teresa A. Stryker for letting us play here in Watertown. Thank you.